Hey, I'm Joel Roadie. Today marks the 2-year anniversary of the death of Eddie Van Halen at the ripe young age of 65 years old. I took 3 different episodes of Roadies talking about Eddie Van Halen, and I chose them for you guys to listen to remember Eddie, because us Roadies, we love the guy. The first one I selected here is Bob Daitz and Bobby Schneider. Bob Daitz toured with Van Halen for a long time. He knew him really, really well. And I like his story. I found out of all the podcasts that I've done, I've reiterated Bob Daitz' story more than most of the stories I've had the opportunity to hear. Check out Bob's story. It's just beautiful. It makes you love Eddie. It makes you want to listen to everything all over again.
Scotty Ross and I go into Amsterdam with Van Halen, and we're going to play a couple of festivals. And Edward Wolfgang Van Halen and Alex Alexander Arthur Van Halen, the 2 Dutch brothers who were born in Holland, grew up in Holland, moved to America, and spoke Dutch, or Alex still does, every day of their lives. So these were not just guys who moved from Holland and became Valley girls. They spoke Dutch every day, and they still spoke Dutch. To the day Ed died, he spoke Dutch in the hospital. We check into the hotel in Amsterdam, get everybody put to bed. Everybody's down, relaxed. We're going out for a drink. Ed calls and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing? You want to go out for beer?" Okay, we'll go out for beer. So Scotty Ross and Bob Daitz and Ed Van Halen go out for beer in Amsterdam. It's pretty amazing that we're talking about this casually, but it's like going out. It's like taking Lars out for beer in Copenhagen. You know what I mean? You're not going to necessarily get recognized, but you're doing it. So we go to a bar, a nice neighborhood dive, crowded bar, smoky, because I think smoking is the national sport of the Netherlands. And Scotty and I sit here, and Ed sits two stools away because it was too crowded. And we're sitting there having our beer, and we look across, and the tears are running down Ed's face. He's not sobbing, but he's crying. And we go, should we go over there? What's up? It's a little, is it going to be weird or what? So we give him a couple more minutes, and he's still crying. So Scotty and I get up off our stools, walk over either side of Ed, and we, lean over. We don't startle him, but we lean over. And Ed and Valerie, and if Valerie's listening or Wolfie's listening, I'll try and finish this story without crying. But Ed, what's the matter? Oh, nothing, guys. Come on, Ed. It's Bob and Scotty. What's up? You ready? I smelled my father's tobacco.
Oh God. Yeah.
And that's not easy for Ed Van Halen, who smoked 3.5 packs of cigarettes a day, to smell somebody else's tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay. I smelled my dad's tobacco, and he just sat there and cried in his beer. And those are one of the moments where, 2 blocks away, there was 50 whores we could have gone to. And so we missed that night in Amsterdam.
The second one I chose here is a little bit different than Bob Daitz and Bobby Schneider. Sterling Winfield and Jeff Pierce knew the Pantera camp, and Sterling was very intimately involved with them all. Sterling's story here talks about Dimebag's funeral and Eddie handing the guitar off to put into the casket. Pretty heavy moment, but a very important one in rock and roll history. I put Jeff's bit in there because it's such a personal moment to this guy, and it really hit me hard, him going through his story. I think Eddie Van Halen being there was maybe even circumstantial to Jeff's story, but there's just something to it that really means something to me. There was a connection. I think Jeff's a great guy, and I chose that episode because of the varied examples and the genuine importance of Eddie Van Halen in those narratives.
We were at the Sheraton next door, and we were doing these Blacktooth shots, and I had a bag of Coke and a bag of ice on me, and I got so drunk that I could not find my drugs. And the singer for Evermore was there, and apparently I threw something at Eddie Van Halen's head. I don't remember that. But then I was out smoking with Eddie, and it was just one of those weird nights. And the singer for Evermore called me the next day and said, do you want to go to an AA meeting? And I haven't looked back since.
Did you guys see them put Eddie's guitar in the casket and stuff when you were there?
Yeah.
I was backstage and wasted. I didn't see any of that.
Well, I was there the evening at the funeral home when Eddie and Matt Brooke brought it in, and when he said what he said to Rita, Dime was an original, he deserves an original, and they opened the case and there was that guitar, the Bumblebee guitar, and everybody standing there just immediately knew what it was, and we all just,
oh yeah,
busted out crying. And yeah.
And you watched him put it in there?
Mm.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was a very heavy. I've had several of these throughout my lifetime, but it's one of those things where you stand there and you're like, you are literally a part of history. You are witnessing history, just it was pretty heavy. And then just all the emotional energy there. Yeah, it was intense, very intense.
So Eddie's the one who put it in the casket?
He handed it to Rita, and I believe Rita did it.
See, I don't know. My fear would be like touching that dead body with it, because your hands might just, I don't know. I don't know. I'd be like,
they won't bite.
No, I probably ain't gonna do. Yeah, probably not. But
they don't bite, man.
Yeah. The last little clip here is one of my favorite people I've had on here, Keith Warcholak and his buddy Steve Creep. And Keith is just larger than life. I want to hear more stories always. And what I liked about his one is I just see this kid at Mates. Mates is a place where we store our stuff. And he's so excited to meet Eddie Van Halen. and I love his enthusiasm. I think it's a great way to end this brief little episode. I urge you to watch all 3 episodes. These guys are so fascinating. They're great. I will have links to them and check them out. Remember Eddie Van Halen. Go listen to Van Halen records tomorrow and for the rest of the damn year. And maybe next year too. Get Wolfie in there. Take care.
Couple of months after that, after kind of knowing him for a while, I remember pulling up and I'm backing up into the dock at Mates, and I hear like whistles, loud whistles, and I look at I stop the truck. I'm like, what? I'm trying to back up a truck here. I see this Porsche, on the dock and everything like that, and I see Matty Brooke and my 2 bosses. Can't remember their names, and I'm like, well, what? They're just like, stop the truck, get over here now. I'm like, all right, what did I do wrong today? So I jump up on the dock and I'm just like looking at them. And by the time I jump on the dock, they're like proud fathers. They're just looking at me like, I'm like, what? What's the rush? What's the fire? And like out of a movie, like out of a slow motion movie, the door from the Porsche opens up. And Eddie gets out. He goes, "What's up, Keith?" I'm like, what? Really? And they're just sitting there and they're watching this because they get to talk to Eddie every day and I don't. Right. And they're just like sitting back, letting me enjoy this moment. And Eddie just comes up and he just bro hugs me, and he just like he gives me that confidence. He looks at me. He goes, "What's up, man? How are you, man?" I go, I'm like, You know, like I couldn't believe I didn't even take a photo of it. You know, like every day everybody's got a camera. Like I didn't even think today, like after he died, I was like, wait a minute, you didn't get a photo of that? You fucking idiot. But he just sat there, you know, he took like a minute and he was real cordial. And Manny and him, you know, jumped in the Porsche and started getting out of there. By the time I jumped back to the truck, my mind's racing a million miles an hour. And I'll never forget Matty coming to the warehouse the next day. And he goes, hey, man, I just want you to know that, you know, Eddie and Matt start going past me as I'm backing the truck up. And Eddie goes, stop the car, roll down the window. He goes, honk.
Well, thanks for saving George's guitars.
Exactly. And he just looks at me and he's like, Keith, thumbs up, Keith, thumbs up. He's pointing at me. I'm like, fuck yeah. And Matty was really nice. He was like, yeah, man, he made sure that I stopped and rolled down the window and just made sure that he sent you some love. So
that's super cool. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe by clicking the round button on the bottom right. To learn more about me or the guests on the show, go to joelroadie.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. The handle's Joel Roadie.